am I here on this stage? This is a very strange thing, isn't it? You have this business technology consultant. Okay, well, I'll tell you a story. So I know this young lady, Veterinary, and she told me at one point, about a year and a half ago now, listen, I have this opportunity. We want to bring to our school Jane Goodall. And I was like, wow, that's really great. You know, you ought to ask one of your professors how you would do something like that. And, you know, on my other side, I'm consulting for about 5 different companies, doing some mergers over here, some negotiations, et cetera, et cetera. So this is my 2 worlds happening. So I have this conversation with her. And she goes, my professor said I should make it big. So here we are. This is what ended up from our relationship, mine and Veronique's. And I want to tell you a little bit of a story about how that happened. Now, I come from a totally outside perspective. But a business and technology consultant is someone who comes in and solves things. What's going on, identify key pieces of information, and try to strategically align it such that you come with a positive result. And we've had so much exposure to the entire industry by setting up this event that I have a few things to share. So normally I work with startup companies or dying companies. These are the 2 companies I get to deal with. And frankly, they're pretty much the same thing. Don't tell one or the other. But in both cases, with a startup, for example, they don't know what sort of resources they need to identify to make things work. They don't know the mechanisms, the systems. With a dying company, they can no longer see what's causing them to fail. So in both cases, it's about identifying the problems and providing some solution. It sounds simple, isn't it? But actually, it becomes very complex once you get into the relationships a little bit. I see vets, after having experienced a wonderful series of sponsors, just awesome speakers, you know, all of them top of their game, you know, and having exposure to even the audience, because think about it, we're addressing students, veterinarians, people in the public even. There's this idea that veterinarians need to improve their public image. So why don't we get Jane Goodall on the stage and get them all to wait while we show them presentations of birds and all the other things that we do in the veterinary, you know, things like that. So because in my mind, after having seen this survey, basically my take on it is something like this, and it's very basic. The current industry needs to trust the young generation. That's going to sound strange at first, but let me explain. There's a bit of a technological vacuum in the veterinary world, and I can say things like this because I come from the outside. I can be totally brass, you know, about what I say up here. I'll give you an example, okay? The contact list for the people that are to be contacted about a conference like this, majority of those emails, I would say something about 62.3% by the calculation we've done, are Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo, and so on. So, for your benefit, just for some entertainment purpose, I'm going to teach everybody in the audience how to hack all of those email accounts. All right, let's go. So maybe you've got a friend or, I don't know, you know, you have this issue and you want to get in there. And of course, hey, don't try this at home. There's always a disclaimer in these kind of things, but it's important to kind of mention. Usually what happens when you lose your password for one of these open accounts, public accounts, and we're not even talking about data security. Where does the data go to? How are the laws protecting privacy of information when information bounces in and out of servers in the States? Where is your server? Blah, blah, blah. I could talk for 10 days about that. Let's just focus on security. Small thing. So I'm guessing that how many clinics here have a clinic pet? Like there's a pet in the clinic. There's a few. Yeah, we noticed that. Interesting. Let's keep that piece of information on the side for a second while we go back to Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo, and all that. So, okay, I'm confronted with the screen. I need a username and password. Which username is the email. That's pretty easy. That's the email I want to hack. But I don't have the password. Okay. Well, there's a button right underneath that that says, I forgot my password. And then you're going to have to answer the secret question, which is probably the name of the pet in your clinic. Okay, that's pretty damn serious, though. There's a few steps now. Yes, things are changing. Oh, there's numbers after the name of the cat. But you shouldn't have told us, because now... Now, if it wasn't the name of the pet in your clinic, well, fine. I mean, I can sort of have a casual conversation. Where did you grow up when you were... What's your mother's maiden name anyway? Blah, blah, blah. This is a bit of an issue. There's other problems as well. How can I automate Gmail? And does Gmail legally own my information once it's on there? We did a study once in one of the classes that I teach. We actually followed. You know where at the bottom where it says read the conditions, terms and conditions? We spent 2 hours collectively as 20 people doing a live research exercise, and nobody could actually figure out what they're saying. So finally, I drove them through the link. I'm responsible for knowing these kind of things so that I can present them to my clients. And they discovered, oh, interesting, there are huge companies on the internet that gobble up other smaller companies and then they own them. And when you use their service, they own you too. So that is the negative side. Let's get a little positive about technology. Try to create an email for yourself and have your own server. It'll cost you about $20 a year, okay, if you're doing it right. In fact, if any of you have purchased the tickets online for this conference, the entire website model, the e-commerce model, everything that was connected to it, all of it cost a total of nothing. It was open source. I mean, isn't that awesome? So anyway, let's put all that aside. Now, I just want to talk about, okay, there are some anxieties. Okay, the current generation of veterinarians will say to you, well, I don't need that. I don't need this internet thing, right? I've got my practice operating the way it operates. It's been doing well for X amount of years. I'm planning on selling anyways. I don't know if I want to invest in all that. And besides, I don't understand it. Okay, so we get to the actual reality at the end of all of those complaints. It's because it's not understood. There's a sense of anxiety with technology. Well, guess who doesn't care? The young generation. Do you know how much time is wasted at companies, statistically on average, that are Facebooking? But there's value in that social exercise, just because it's not understood by the current guard. So let me give you some ideas about what could be done, just practical. Okay, YouTube videos. What happens when you publish a YouTube video of you doing something very related to whatever it is that you're practicing, for example, veterinarian? Okay, we would like to tell you about fleas. Flea season is coming up right now. Let's do a video on flea season. Okay, I'm going to tell you everything about it and express my expertise. I don't want to sound like an idiot trying to say that right now, but you get the idea. You put that onto YouTube. Will take you a total, hey, shoot it with your cell phone. You don't need a live production screen, everything going on, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, shoot it with your cell phone. Pop that up onto social media. Suddenly, you're the authority for that information, and all you had to do was just film it and do it. Wild. Could you get some of your clients to agree to having procedures, et cetera, et cetera? Is the continuing education gap or the complementary education gap that we're seeing fillable by these kind of small exercises? And guess who's in your clinic that knows all that stuff? Your administrator, who you're actually tasking up with a whole bunch of other things that they may be good at, but you're totally devaluing them by not giving them the opportunity to take extra steps. Let them Facebook your page. Okay, no problem. So there's the social benefit as well. Now, I've given you the story. A couple of hints as to what I think could help based on what I've seen throughout the industry. Director TVOs was very kind to allow me the time on stage to share our experience and what we had seen. So I hope that if anything out of this, I just want one thing. Trust the young generation. It's true, they are a bit clumsy and they haven't adapted your system yet, which you worked so hard for many years to establish. And they know nothing about the practice, they're totally newbies, oh my God, maybe they're gonna kill the next animal, but we have to deal with this. Fine, but they will hack Facebook in their sleep. So let's find some sort of a happy merger in the middle. And I assure you, from a public relations perspective, from a social engagement perspective, economic perspective, and from the public image perspective, which is the thing that really needs work, you're going to be fine and it'll be free. So, thanks very much.